Key Hunters, Chapter 8. We thought you were, Evan said. We thought you fell into the lava crater. Head henchwomen don't die so easily, Miss Crowley said as she untied them. Anyhow, I've got to stop the Viper. Why? Cleo asked, getting up and dusting off her wetsuit. I thought you were working for the Viper. I was, but part of my story is that my sister is an acronym agent. Even though we're on opposite sides, I don't want her to get hurt. Blood is thicker than water. Love conquers all. Blah, blah, blah. Now let's go. They raced through the base in search of the Viper. How did you get out of the lava crater? Evan asked as they turned a corner and darted up a flight of metal stairs. As I was falling, I grabbed onto a ledge. When I pulled myself up, I found a tunnel that led to the waste disposal room, Miss Crowley said. Waste? Cleo asked. That's gross. Gross is right, Miss Crowley said. Now, follow me. I know where the escape pods are. The kids followed Miss Crowley along several hallways, up 2 more flights of stairs, and through a bunch of high-tech rooms. The escape pod bay was a bright white chamber with 6 oval hatches nestled in one wall. The Viper was stepping into one of the hatches. The computer drive was tucked under his arm. It's over, Viper, Evan called out. Wait, Cleo said. If he's the Viper, should you say it's over the Viper, or is it just Viper? It doesn't really sound right if I say the Viper right there, Evan said. I'm going to stick with Viper. No matter what you say, it's not over, the Viper said. My henchmen have already left in the other escape pods, and I've set the self-destruct timer for the base. In 5 minutes, the 3 of you will be shark chum. No, Miss Crowley yelled, and she tackled the Viper. The hard drive spun through the air and clattered to the ground. The Viper and Miss Crowley struggled on the floor. Blast the hard drive with your laser watch, Cleo yelled. Evan aimed his wrist at the hard drive and pressed the button. Nothing happened. He looked at his wrist. The face of the watch was cracked. It must have broken when we fell in the grotto, Evan said. Let's get that hard drive. They drove across the room. Evan grabbed the black box and smashed it against the floor. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. It's a good thing hard drives don't bring bad luck the way mirrors do, Cleo said. Just then, the Viper pushed Miss Crowley off of him. Her head banged on the ground with a thud. The Viper surveyed the smashed hard drive. No matter, he said. I've got a copy of those files in the mainframe computer. Just before the base explodes, it will upload all the information to my satellites. Face it, you've lost to Agents Evan and Cleo. Now I must say goodbye. I hate to be here when the timer reaches 0. And with that, the Viper dove into the hatch and slammed his hand on the release button. The door slid shut and the escape pod detached. The Viper's evil laughter still echoed off the walls. I'm so sorry, Miss Crowley said. I've failed. This story isn't over yet, Evan said. Miss Crowley rose to her feet and rubbed her head. How are we going to escape? All the pods are gone. We still have our mini-sub, Evan said. But first, we need to destroy the stolen files before the base links up with the satellite. I know where the mainframe is, Miss Crowley said. Then what are we waiting for? Cleo asked. A computerized female voice came from above. Time to self-destruct. 3 minutes. How can the voice stay so calm when everything is about to explode? Evan asked. They followed Miss Crowley until they reached a door. Evan pressed the button to open it, but a red light flashed. Access denied, a voice said. Cleo pulled out her magnetic lockpick, but Miss Crowley pushed her aside. We don't have time for that, she said. She threw herself forward and slammed her heel against the metal next to the doorknob. The door flung open. Whoa, Cleo said. Where'd you learn to do that? Door-kicking school, Miss Crowley said. Now where's that hard drive? Evan ran into the room, sat at a keyboard, and began pecking at the keys. Do you know what you're doing? Cleo said, looking over his shoulder. The calm female voice spoke. Time to self-destruct. 2 minutes. The hard drive lit up and a large gray disc behind thick glass started to spin. If 10 years of video games have taught me anything, it's how to use a computer, Evan said. He squinted at the screen. I can delete everything, but it's going to take more than 2 minutes. Is that the hard drive? Miss Crowley asked, pointing at the spinning disc. That's it, Evan said. Miss Crowley strode over and slammed her heel into the thick glass. The glass cracked. The hard drive shook, but it kept whirring. She stomped again. Another slender crack appeared in the glass. It's no use, Miss Crowley said. It'll take me an hour to stomp through there. We don't have an hour, Cleo said. Let me try. What are you going to do? Miss Crowley said. Talk at it until it explodes? No, said Cleo calmly. I'm going to do this. Cleo pulled a magnetic lockpick from her pocket. She placed it against the cracked glass and pressed the button. The lights in the hard drive flashed red and the disc started to sizzle. Within seconds, the plastic disc melted and was dripping down the inside of the hard drive. Smoke puffed out of the console. Strong magnets mess up computer memory, Cleo said. How did you know that? Evan asked. Last year, my mom's credit cards got erased by the magnetic clasp of her purse. I figured this was the same thing, just stronger. Brilliant, Evan said. He spun in his chair and bolted for the door. Let's get to the sub. The calm female voice spoke again. Time to self-destruct. 1 minute. Then the voice began counting down each second from 60. Wait, Cleo called out, pointing to the computer monitor. Evan, look! Purple, sparkly letters. We don't have time to read your girly notes, Miss Crowley said. But Evan knew that purple and sparkly were two of Miss Hillard's favorite things. It had to be her. He read quickly. Dear Evan, I expect you only have a moment to read this, so I'll be brief. First, I know there's little I can do to stop you from continuing on. Please use caution. Also, understand that sometimes people you think are against you may be your friend after all. Now pay attention to that countdown. That calm, computerized voice means business. Run! Your friend and librarian, Miss Hillard. Let's go, Miss Crowley hollered from the doorway. Evan, Cleo, and Miss Crowley raced down the hallway until Evan spotted the broken hatch door he'd melted open. The sub was still attached. The computerized voice continued counting down the seconds. 39, 38. Hurry, Cleo cried, hopping in first. Miss Crowley went next, followed by Evan, who slammed the sub's hatch shut and slapped his hand on the airlock button. A buzzer sounded. Airlock jammed, the computer said. I am so sick of calm computerized voices bringing us bad news, Evan said. The base's hatch won't close because we destroyed it. The sub won't release. Sit down, Cleo said. I'll put the sub in reverse. She pulled back on the controls and the mini-sub's motor started whirring. Metal groaned. The sub lurched and tilted. 29, 28. Give it more power, Miss Crowley said. We're pulling away. Our hatch might tear off, Cleo said. We're attached to a secret underwater base that's about to explode, Evan said. We don't have much of a choice. Cleo pulled harder on the controls. Metal groaned louder and the mini-sub tilted more. It's working, Evan said. Finally, the sub broke free. Hang on, Cleo said. She spun the steering wheel and the sub twisted in the water. Then she slammed the controls forward. The sub surged ahead. 19, 18, 17. Hurry, Evan said. We need to be far from the base when it explodes. I'm giving it everything I can, Cleo said. We're not going fast enough, Miss Crowley said. How far do you think? But before Evan could finish, an explosion flashed through the windows of the base. One of the skull's eyes collapsed inward and everything started to shake. Evan rushed to Cleo's side and scanned the dashboard. Then he found what he was looking for. He slapped his hand down on a small button that looked like a flame. Blue fire shot out the back of the mini-sub and they rocketed forward. The secret underwater base exploded behind them. The force of the blast flipped the mini-sub around and the hull buckled. Bolts popped loose and clattered around. Miss Crowley screamed and stumbled. Cleo twisted the controls and righted the mini-sub. Then everything went quiet except for the ping of the sonar. Ahoy, ahoy, a voice said. A monitor flickered at life. It was Avery Phillips. Agent Evan? Agent Cleo? Are you okay? Evan pressed the communicator button. We're fine, he said, just a little shaken up. Yeah, Cleo added, like a can of whipped cream. Now that our signal can reach you, we've activated autopilot, Avery said. You'll be back to base in a few hours. Big Roger and Big Wilco, Evan said. Cleo leaned back. Evan leaned back. Even Miss Crowley leaned back. They were exhausted. Within a few minutes, all three of them were asleep. The end of chapter 8.